Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? I watched a video by Same Old G, maybe 2 weeks ago, week ago, something like that. Whenever he put the video out, I saw it and I watched it. And it was about his experience with the Burning Wheel RPG. And this really isn't about Burning Wheel, and it's not an anti-Burning Wheel video. So just putting that out there. But he talked about the idea that he played it with some friends, and he went back and looked at the game and was rereading it, and he noticed that over time they missed a lot of nuances and rules and little nuggets in the of the game in the text, and they just didn't apply them. And he felt like he missed out on some of the feel and the flavor and the nuance of the experience by ignoring those well hidden rules or ideas. And I think we've all had experience with that, where a game has just so much information in it that you read something, you remember it, but then in the heat of the moment you're lost because and you're not really sure where the heck to look it up. Sometimes the book has a really good glossary and index, but sometimes you're just not really sure what you're looking for in the first place. And it made me smile because if anybody's played first edition Dungeons and Dragons, the original Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, if you own the Dungeon Master's Guide, right on, most of us, if you open it randomly, it's going to open up to this page, 74, 75 in the DM's Guide, because out of the 3 core books, that was the only place you could find the attack matrix, like how what your attack values were. If you hit somebody, you're not in combat. That was it. It was not very recursive. So I want to talk a little bit about recursiveness in game design in terms of being able to find the information, having the information presented to you over and over and over again, so it's easy to find. And part of what I mean by that is the idea that, okay, maybe you have the information presented when it's logical for it to come up in the description of the game, and maybe in some detail, whatever the information is, setting, rules, you name it. However, as you encounter different parts of the game as you're reading the text, there's references made back to that, and sometimes not just see page 4, but actually it goes over it again. Maybe it's just a thumbnail sketch this time. Maybe it just goes over that one little particular rule, so you get it presented to you over and over and over again. So you don't have to kind of flip the book back and forth looking for stuff. And I remember watching a video probably, I don't know, a month and a half ago, something like that. I don't remember if it was Clint Krause that did the review. It was a review for a product called Maze of the Blue Medusa. Now, it really doesn't matter whether or not you're interested in that product or whether or not you don't like the people involved in that product. So, it's irrelevant in terms of the subject of this video. So, just if you have any feelings about that, just ignore it. The product's on my to-buy list, but it's kind of gotten bumped down because I'm branching out into different games and different types of games, so it's still something I'm interested in. Anyhow, I digress. The neat thing about that particular product is it's extraordinarily recursive. It deals with a setting. In this case, it's kind of a labyrinth for the most part, rather intricate. But in terms of the physical layout, you'll get the map of the entire place. And then, as you go into different sections, where you get to a part of the book that deals with a subsection of the setting, then it's going to show you the entire picture again, but then it's going to highlight and kind of put a magnifying glass on the section that you're in. And then if you're in a really small part, like it's a room area dealing with a particular person, thing, whatever it is, then it's going to show you the whole map again and that section, and then really give you like this magnifying glass on where you are. The same thing about the characters, the things, the creatures, whatever you're going to encounter there, the ideas. There are pages where you just have the full-on, like, complete description of everything in lurid detail. But then you have other places where it just gives you a thumbnail sketch. What are their basic motivations, maybe 1 or 2 words, that sort of thing. It's recursive. The information is presented to you over and over again. It's easy to find. I think that's really cool. It increases the page count, but if you're like me, sometimes you're not even sure what to look for. So just having some information there is neat. And, I'm reminded of that a little bit by my recent acquisition, our Broken Rooms. I think this sucker tops out. This is my biggest, the highest page count of anything I own right now. And it's 453, 455. Yeah, about that, plus a character sheet. And look at this character sheet. I love this character sheet. Nothing to it. Love it. Doesn't mean there's nothing to this game. Not with 455 pages. There better not be nothing to it. But it is rather recursive. There's a lot of stuff about this game I'd love to talk about. A lot of different ways to approach it, and probably videos and discussions to make. Really intriguing. However, let me just stick to my point and not go off in 8 different directions. But one of the neat things about this book is it is somewhat recursive, especially when it comes to the setting. Not so much with the rules. It gives you some things over and over again, or kind of reminds you of stuff or spells stuff out. So it is recursive in that way as well. But the setting is complex. It's multifaceted, which is funny. I like the game. It's a complex setting. And in fact, written by the same people when I was complaining about complex settings before, Gray Milken Designs. They break good stuff. But it's very recursive in terms of the setting. It lets you, like when you're in a different part of the book, it'll remind you about it again. Sometimes it's almost verbatim, not quite, but I remember a couple times saying, I've read that before. But I don't mind it because it's very, very helpful. You don't have to go flipping through the book back and forth and back and forth. And you can read detailed parts about information about different parts of the setting in some areas, and you can read slightly less detailed parts about the same sections of the setting in other areas. And then you can read really thumbnail sketches, real fast stuff. I like that. So I'm a big fan of recursiveness in game book design. What do you think? What are your opinions? What are your experiences been? Bigger page count, but I appreciate the fact that I don't have to go looking all over the place for the stuff. And I don't miss stuff either, because if it's relevant to what I'm reading about, it's going to be mentioned in that same page or same area again. The end.